Hello, my name is Shavana. Welcome to Cinecosma. Today we're looking at movies through the lens of Leo. Now, if you've been watching this series, you already know the drill. I'm not trying to assign zodiac signs to every single character. Instead, I'm asking a different question. What kinds of stories naturally explore the themes that each zodiac sign governs? So in this video, we're going to be looking at what Leo represents, how those themes show up on screen, and then I'll give some movie examples that I think embody different expressions of that Leo archetype. But before we jump in, if you missed the previous videos, I've already covered Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer. As I said, this is a series, so I will continue on until I do all of the signs. Each sign governs completely different parts of the human experience. So every season we've looked at has had its own set of recurring themes. Now it's Leo's turn. So first, let's quickly go over what Leo actually rules. Leo is a fixed fire sign ruled by the sun. The sun is literally the center of our solar system. So symbolically, Leo has always been associated with things that stand at the center. The sun is also the brightest star in our sky. So symbolically, Leo also represents putting a shine over something that has the spotlight or the shine on them. Things like self-expression, creativity, performance, confidence, leadership, identity, and vitality. On the shadow side, Leo can struggle with pride, arrogance, ego, attention seeking, entitlement, and stubbornness. A lot of Leo keywords overlap with other archetypes. Heroism can easily look like Aries. Leadership can look like Capricorn. Creativity can look like Pisces. What kinds of stories repeatedly explore the things Leo actually governs? After looking through a bunch of films and with what I know about Leo and continuously know because my knowledge in astrology grows, I found that Leo stories tend to fall into about 5 different categories. And honestly, I've just been doing 5 categories for all of the signs. The first category is the spotlight. These are stories about fame, celebrity, public visibility, and what it means to have everyone's attention on you. Sometimes the spotlight is something the character wants. Other times it's something they never asked for. But either way, the story is exploring what happens when your life becomes public. The second category, I called it the throne. These stories revolve around inheritance, legacy, leadership, royalty, or answering some greater calling. Whether that's literally becoming king or simply stepping into a position of responsibility, the central question becomes, can this person carry what's been placed on them? Then we have the third category, which is becoming an icon. These aren't just stories about someone becoming a hero. They're stories where someone becomes bigger than themselves, a symbol, an icon, a chosen one, a martyr, a source of hope. The individual almost stops belonging to themselves because they now represent something larger. And then we have the fourth category, which is creative expression. These are stories centered around using your gifts: music, dance, acting, performance, art. The story isn't simply about becoming famous. It's about expressing something authentic to your creativity. And then finally, we have the fall from the spotlight, which is pretty much Leo in its shadow. Every single zodiac sign has a shadow. So for Leo, when it comes to stories, the stories often explore what happens when pride, ego, vanity, or the desire for recognition starts taking control. Sometimes the character loses everything because they become consumed by the spotlight. Other times the story is about realizing that fame without authenticity doesn't actually bring fulfillment. So now let's look at some story examples, some movie examples that I found that I feel like closely represent these themes that I just explored. Starting off with the spotlight, I chose Starstruck and Shark Tale. Both of these stories ask similar questions. What happens when image becomes more important than authenticity? And what happens when everyone knows who you are? So again, the spotlight is stories about where a person just simply wants to be famous, wants to be known, wants to be seen and recognized, but is it for good reasons? And can they handle all eyes being on them? And then for the second theme, we have the throne. For the throne, I chose The Lion King and The Lion in Winter, and it is a complete coincidence that they just both happen to have lion in their title. But these stories are all about legacy, power, and inheritance, and stepping into or fighting over the throne. For The Lion King, Simba is coming back to take, I don't want to spoil what the movie is about, but essentially Simba is coming back to take the throne that was stolen from him. And in The Lion in Winter, it's a completely different premise. It's about a father who is the king who's trying to figure out which one of his sons should get the next king, like which one of his sons should succeed him and become the next king. Moving on to the third theme, we have becoming an icon. For becoming an icon, I chose Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Harry Potter. In both of these films, these are stories with two individuals. And also, I just want to say really quickly for Harry Potter, I specifically chose the Order of Phoenix. All of Harry Potter doesn't necessarily explore Leo themes like each individual movie. I feel like the Order of the Phoenix is one of the movies that best closely explores Leo themes as a whole, not just Harry Potter himself, who is very much so a Leo character. But regardless, in both of these films, I feel like these are stories that explore the main character. For Spider-Man, it's Miles Morales, and Harry Potter, it's Harry Potter, having to put themselves in a position of this symbol and this icon that other people are relying on, and other people either know or will know because they're famous or well known, whatever the case may be. And so these are two individuals who have to make that choice of, do I fully embrace this role of becoming an icon or a symbol or, you know, just a beacon of hope, or do I kind of just stay small, stay to myself, and don't fulfill that purpose that I might have of becoming an icon? So Miles isn't just becoming Spider-Man, he's becoming what Spider-Man represents. And Harry Potter isn't simply fighting Voldemort, he's becoming the boy who lived. I mean, he's already known as the boy who lives from the moment the first story or the first book and movie starts. But as the stories progress, he then eventually becomes a symbol of hope. Next, we have creative expression. For creative expression, I chose High School Musical and Honey. Both of these stories are built around artistic performance, but more importantly, they're about discovering your purpose through your creative gifts. High School Musical is, I mean, musical is literally in the name. A lot of Leo stories tend to fall in the musical genre because music is one of the biggest ways that someone can express themselves, music and dance. Honey is more dancing. High School Musical is a little bit of everything, singing, dancing, and acting. And so these are very clear Leo stories as it pertains to creative expression, because it's about using your creative talents, using your body sometimes using your voice to express yourself. And usually that expression isn't just for you, but it's also for other people too, to be inspired by you and to also want to express themselves and use their voices as well. And then last but definitely not least, for the archetypes, for the story themes that I chose, we have the Fall from the Spotlight, which, as I said, is essentially Leo in its shadow. I chose Dreamgirls and The Five Heartbeats. These stories show the darker side of Leo themes, how ego, ambition, jealousy, and the pressures of fame can slowly destroy relationships, careers, and even the very thing that made someone shine in the first place. If you've seen any of these movies, you know that these characters started out as a team who had the talent of singing and dancing. They become famous, and then that fame slowly starts to get to everyone, and the groups end up breaking apart. Some want to become solo artists. Others just have other non-singing related, career related things going on. They have personal business. They let the fame get to them in one way or another, and the group ends up breaking apart, and their lives are essentially just like falling from the spotlight. So this is an example of just pure Leo in its shadow. So ultimately, Leo stories explore what happens when an individual is seen, whether it's through fame, leadership, art, or heroism, these stories ask what it truly means to stand in the light. At their best, Leo stories remind us that our greatest influence doesn't come from simply being admired. It comes from using our gifts in service of something bigger than ourselves. And at their worst, they remind us that chasing recognition without authenticity can eventually become our downfall. So that's all I have today for Leo themes. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, or if you're just curious about what Cinecosma is, feel free to follow and subscribe, and also take a look at my introductory to Cinecosma video, so that way you can get an understanding of what I do here on this platform. If you have any questions or comments that you want to make, obviously feel free to drop them down in the comment section, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.